"Walk it off. Stop being a baby," my wife Chloe yelled as I lay motionless on the ground. Her brother, Mark, stood smirking while her sister, Sophia, accused me of ruining her birthday. But when the paramedic saw I couldn't move my legs, she immediately called for police backup. The MRI would reveal everything. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and immediately know you don't belong? That's exactly how I felt standing on Sophia's pool deck, watching the raindrops still clinging to the fancy outdoor furniture as if they were scared to let go. I didn't blame them. I was scared to let go too, but not of some overpriced patio chair. I was scared of what this whole party represented. The concrete under my work boots was slick, and I kept shuffling toward the edge of the pool area, trying to blend into the background like I always did at these family gatherings. My steel-toed boots felt completely out of place among all the designer sandals and boat shoes scattered around the deck. Everyone else looked like they'd stepped out of a country club catalog. And here I was in my wrinkled khakis and company polo, still smelling like the warehouse from my double shift that morning. Chloe was across the yard, and damn, if she didn't look right at home with her people. She had that laugh going, the one where she throws her head back and shows off those perfect white teeth her daddy paid for. She was clutching some fancy cocktail that probably cost more than I made in a day, standing next to her brother Mark and sister Sophia as if they were posing for a magazine spread. The golden children, all three of them, with their perfect lives and perfect problems. I should have stayed home. I should have told Chloe I was too tired, too busy, too whatever. But you don't say no to the Harringtons when they're throwing a party. Not if you're married to one of them anyway. Not if you want to keep the peace in your own house. The party was in full swing around me. Kids splashed in the pool. Adults networked over wine and cheese that had names I couldn't pronounce. I recognized most of the faces from previous family gatherings, but recognition doesn't equal belonging. These people knew exactly what I was. Chloe's blue-collar husband who didn't quite fit their mold. The guy who fixed things and moved boxes while they moved money and made deals. I was minding my own business, really. I was just standing there watching the water ripple in the pool, thinking about how much overtime I'd need to pull to afford the electric bill this month, when I saw him coming. Mark, with that swagger of his that screamed privilege and entitlement from 50 yards away. He had that look in his eyes, the same one he'd had since the day I married his sister. The look that said he was about to have some fun, and I was gonna be the entertainment. "Liam!" His voice cut through the party chatter like a knife. "There's my favorite brother-in-law. Favorite and only, but who's counting?" I forced a smile and gave him a nod. "Hey, Mark, hell of a party. You know what this party needs?" He was grinning now, that shark-like smile that made my stomach twist. Some excitement, some real fun. I could feel the eyes on us already. The other guests, sensing something was about to happen, were turning to watch like we were the main event. This was how it always went with Mark. He needed an audience for his games, needed witnesses to his dominance, and I was always his favorite target. "Come on, Liam," he called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Let's show these people some real fun." I took a step back, my boots scraping against the wet concrete. "I'm good, man, really, just enjoying the party." But Mark wasn't taking no for an answer. He never did. That's when I felt his hand clamp down on my arm. Not friendly, not playful, but possessive, as if I were his property to do with as he pleased. "No, no, no," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, trying not to make a scene. "Mark, I'm in my work clothes, man. I don't want to—" "Don't be such a buzzkill." Chloe's voice cut through my protests, as if she were scolding a child. She didn't even look up from her conversation, just waved her hand dismissively in my direction. "It's Sophia's day, Liam. Stop being so damn dramatic." Dramatic? That was always her word for me when I tried to set boundaries, when I tried to say no to her family's idea of fun, when I didn't want to be the butt of their jokes. "Seriously, Liam," Sophia chimed in from across the deck, her voice sharp with irritation. "Can you just go along with something for once? This is supposed to be my special day." The crowd was watching now, all of them waiting to see what would happen next, waiting to see if I'd be a good sport or if I'd ruin the party with my drama. The pressure was suffocating, but it was familiar too. This was how it always went in Chloe's family. You played along with their games, or you were the problem. Mark's grip tightened on my arm. "See? Even the birthday girl wants you to have some fun. Come on, little brother." Little brother. I was 34 years old, but to Mark, I'd always be the little brother who needed to be put in his place. The outsider who needed reminding of where he stood in the family hierarchy. "Mark, please," I tried one more time, but my voice was drowned out by his laughter and the encouraging calls from the crowd. Someone shouted, "Do it!" Someone else was already pulling out their phone to record whatever was about to happen. That's when Mark spun me hard, as if I were a toy, as if I weighed nothing at all. The world tilted sideways, and I felt my feet leave the ground. For a split second, I was airborne, completely at the mercy of momentum and gravity and Mark's idea of entertainment. I wasn't a child. I was a grown man with responsibilities and bills and a bad back from years of warehouse work. But in that moment, spinning through the air with the sound of laughter filling my ears, I felt as helpless as a kid being bullied on a playground. The edge of the pool was right behind me. I could see it rushing toward me as I spun. I could see the concrete steps that led down into the water. Hard, unforgiving concrete that didn't care about birthday parties or family dynamics or keeping the peace. This was supposed to be just a joke, right? Just Mark being Mark. Just family fun that I'd laugh about later. That's what Chloe would say afterward, what they'd all say. Just harmless fun that went a little too far. But as I felt Mark's hands release me, as I felt myself falling backward toward those concrete steps, I knew this wasn't going to be funny at all. You ever have one of those moments where everything slows down, like you're watching it happen to someone else? That's exactly what it felt like when Mark let go of me. 1 second, I was spinning through the air like some twisted carnival ride, and the next, I was watching myself fall backward in what felt like slow motion. My arms flailed, trying to grab onto something, anything, but there was nothing but empty air and the sound of people laughing. The laughter was the worst part, not the falling, not even the fear of what was coming, but hearing all these people finding my terror hilarious. As if my panic were the punchline to some joke I wasn't in on. I could see Chloe from the corner of my eye as I spun, still holding that damn cocktail, still wearing that expression like I was embarrassing her just by existing. Her lips were moving, probably complaining to whoever would listen about how I always had to make everything about me. Classic Chloe. Even when I was literally falling through the air, she made it about how it affected her. Time stretched like taffy as I stumbled mid-spin. My work boots tried to find purchase on the wet concrete, but found nothing but slick surface and gravity pulling me down. My body was completely off balance, arms windmilling uselessly, as I realized with crystal clarity exactly where I was headed. The concrete steps. Jesus Christ, the concrete steps! I'd noticed them earlier when I was trying to stay out of everyone's way. 3 sharp-edged steps leading down into the shallow end of the pool. Expensive-looking stone, probably some fancy Italian marble that cost more than my truck. Beautiful to look at, but hard as hell and completely unforgiving. My back hit those steps with a sound I'll never forget. Not a thud, not a splash, but a crack. A sharp, definitive crack that seemed to echo across the entire yard like a gunshot. The kind of sound that makes everyone stop talking, even if just for a second. But they didn't stop talking. They didn't even stop laughing. The pain was immediate and absolute. Not like when you bang your shin on a coffee table or stub your toe. This was different. This was my entire world suddenly narrowing down to one single point of agony that radiated out from my lower back like lightning. I tried to suck in air, but my lungs felt like they'd forgotten how to work. I was lying there on those damn steps, half in the pool, half out. My work shirt was soaked through and clinging to my skin. The water was warm against my back, but I couldn't feel anything below my waist. Nothing. As if someone had just erased the bottom half of my body. "Walk it off, Liam." Chloe's voice cut through the haze of pain and shock. She was actually shouting at me, her voice sharp with irritation and embarrassment. "You're embarrassing us. Don't be such a baby." A baby? I couldn't feel my legs, couldn't breathe properly, and she was calling me a baby in front of all her friends and family? I tried to turn my head to look at her, to try to make her understand that something was seriously wrong, but she wasn't even looking at me. She was looking at her guests, probably trying to gauge how much damage control she'd need to do. Sophia's voice joined in from somewhere near the patio. "Of course," she said, her tone dripping with frustration. "Of course he pulls this drama on my birthday, my one special day." My one special day? As if I had planned this. As if I'd asked Mark to grab me and throw me into her fancy pool steps just to steal her thunder? The absurdity of it would have been funny if I could feel anything below my waist. I tried to speak, tried to tell them that something was really wrong, but my voice came out as barely a whisper. "I can't move my legs." The words hung in the air for a moment, but nobody seemed to hear them, over the sound of their own complaints and excuses. Mark was somewhere behind me, probably trying to figure out how to spin this into another joke. The other guests were starting to drift back to their conversations, the entertainment apparently over. But then, everything changed. Samantha, one of Sophia's friends, who I'd barely noticed before, suddenly appeared beside me. While everyone else was complaining about their ruined party, she was actually looking at me. Really looking, with a kind of focused attention that made me realize she wasn't just another country club princess. "Hey," she said, her voice calm but urgent as she knelt down next to me. "Hey, can you hear me?" I nodded, or tried to. Everything felt disconnected. "I need you to try something for me, okay?" Her hands were moving over my legs, checking for something I couldn't understand. "Can you feel this?" She pressed down on my shin, then my thigh, then my ankle. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. "Can you wiggle your toes for me?" I tried. God, I tried so hard. I stared down at my feet, willing them to move, concentrating every ounce of energy I had left on just making my toes twitch. But it was like sending signals to a phone that had been disconnected. The message wasn't getting through. Samantha's face went white, not pale, not concerned, white. The color drained from her cheeks so fast it was like watching someone pull the plug on a bathtub. "Nobody touch him," she said. Her voice suddenly carried the kind of authority that made everyone stop what they were doing. "Nobody move him at all." The laughter died. Finally, blessedly, the laughter died. "What's wrong with him?" Chloe's voice had changed now, less irritated and more worried, as if maybe she was starting to realize this wasn't just me being dramatic. "This could be spinal," Samantha said, already pulling out her phone. "This could be really, really bad." Spinal. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. I knew what that meant, even through the shock and pain. I'd seen enough movies, heard enough stories. Spinal meant wheelchairs. Spinal meant never walking again. The concrete steps were still digging into my back, but I couldn't feel them anymore. Couldn't feel the warm pool water lapping at my sides. Couldn't feel my legs at all. Just dead weight. Just nothing. The shift in the air was instant. One moment, everyone was treating this like a slapstick comedy routine, and the next, Samantha's voice cut through the party chatter like a scalpel. "Everyone, back up, now." She wasn't asking, she was commanding, and something in her tone made even Mark shut his mouth for once. "I mean it. Get away from him. Nobody touches him. Nobody moves him. Nobody does anything." I was still lying there on those concrete steps, feeling like I was watching this whole scene unfold from somewhere outside my own body. The pool water was getting warmer around me, or maybe I was just getting colder. Hard to tell when half your body has basically gone offline. Samantha was crouched next to me, her hands hovering over me but not quite touching, as if I were a bomb that might go off if she made the wrong move. Her face was dead serious now, none of that polite party smile she'd been wearing earlier. "What's your name?" she asked me, her voice steady and professional. "Liam," I managed to croak out. "Okay, Liam, I'm Samantha. I'm a paramedic, and I need you to listen to me very carefully. You're going to be okay, but I need you to stay very, very still. Can you do that for me?" A paramedic? Thank God! Finally, someone who knew what they were doing. "Can you feel this?" She touched my leg again, pressing firmly against my calf. I stared down at her hand, willing myself to feel something, anything. But it was like watching someone touch a mannequin. I could see it happening, but there was no sensation. "No," I whispered. "Nothing." She nodded grimly and pulled out her phone. But before she could dial, Mark decided to open his mouth again. "Come on, Sam," he said, with that forced laugh that meant he was starting to get nervous. "It was just horseplay. He's probably just winded, you know? Maybe pulled a muscle or something." Horseplay. Jesus Christ. He was still calling it horseplay? Samantha didn't even look at him. "Mark, I need you to shut up and step back right now." "Hey, there's no need to be." "There's every need." Her voice was ice cold. "You just threw a grown man backward into concrete steps. He can't feel his legs. This is not horseplay. This is a medical emergency. And if you don't get out of my way so I can help him, I'm going to have you arrested for interfering with medical care." That shut him up real quick. Mark's face went from cocky to pale in about 2 seconds flat. Chloe, on the other hand, was still in full denial mode. She came stumbling over, that cocktail still clutched in her perfectly manicured hand like a security blanket. "Samantha, don't you think you're being a little dramatic?" She was using that voice, the one she used when she was trying to manage a situation without actually dealing with it. Liam's always been prone to, making things seem worse than they are. He's probably just tired from work. Tired from work? As if exhaustion made your legs stop working. "Ma'am," Samantha said without looking away from me, "your husband has suffered what appears to be significant spinal trauma. He has no sensation or movement in his lower extremities. This is not fatigue. This is not dramatics. This is a potential life-altering injury that requires immediate medical intervention." Life-altering injury? The words hit me like another punch to the gut. Samantha was already dialing 911. "This is Samantha Rodriguez, off-duty paramedic. I need an ambulance at 1247 Oakwood Drive. Adult male, approximately 34 years old. Possible spinal cord injury following blunt force trauma to the lumbar region. Patient is conscious and alert, but reports complete loss of sensation and motor function in both lower extremities." The way she talked, so calm, so precise, was both reassuring and terrifying. "No, do not attempt to move the patient," she continued into the phone. "Mechanism of injury was a backward fall onto concrete steps following a forceful spinning motion. Yes, I'll stay on the line." Chloe was starting to pace now, her heels clicking against the wet concrete like a metronome counting down to disaster. "This is ridiculous," she muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. "He's going to be fine. He's always fine. This is just Liam being Liam." But even as she said it, I could hear the doubt creeping into her voice. Sophia was standing off to the side, arms crossed, looking like someone had just canceled Christmas. "I can't believe this is happening at my party," she said to no one in particular. "This was supposed to be perfect." Perfect, because my potential paralysis was really just an inconvenience to her birthday celebration. "How long for the ambulance?" I asked Samantha, surprised by how weak my voice sounded. 5 minutes, maybe less," she said, covering the phone's mouthpiece. "They're sending a full crew with spinal immobilization equipment. You're going to be okay, Liam. We're going to take good care of you." 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, this would all become real in a way that couldn't be denied. The sirens got louder until they were right on top of us, then suddenly cut out, leaving a weird, heavy silence. I heard car doors slamming, radio chatter, the sound of equipment being moved around. First through the gate was Officer Miller. I could see his name tag when he knelt down next to Samantha. A big guy, probably in his 40s, with a calm demeanor. His eyes scanned the scene, missing nothing. "What do we have here?" he asked Samantha. "Adult male, spinal trauma from a fall," she said. "Witnessed event. No sensation or movement below the waist." The ambulance crew came through the gate next. 2 women in matching Navy uniforms. The older one, a woman with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes, knelt down beside me. "Hi there, I'm Eva," she said, her voice warm but professional. "I'm going to be taking care of you today. What's your name, sir?" "Liam," I managed. "Okay, Liam, can you tell me what happened here?" This was it, the moment of truth. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. "Mark picked me up and threw me," I said, the words coming out clearer and stronger than I'd expected. "I told him no. I told him I didn't want to do it. He grabbed me anyway, spun me around, and threw me backward into these steps. I can't move my legs." The silence that followed was deafening. Eva nodded calmly and looked over at Officer Miller. "You getting this?" "Every word," he said, scribbling in his notebook. Then he looked up at the crowd. "I'm going to need to speak with everyone who witnessed what happened. Nobody leaves until I've gotten statements from all of you." That's when Chloe decided to make her move. She came clicking over in those ridiculous heels. "Officer, I think there's been a misunderstanding," she said in that voice she used when she was trying to charm her way out of trouble. "My husband is he's been working a lot of double shifts lately. He's exhausted. Sometimes when he's tired, he gets a little confused." Confused? She was actually trying to tell a cop that I was confused about what had just happened to my own body? Eva didn't even look at Chloe. She was busy checking my pupils with a small flashlight. "Can you wiggle your toes for me, Liam?" I tried. I stared down at my feet, concentrating every ounce of energy I had left, but the signal just wasn't getting through. "No," I said, and the word came out smaller than I'd intended. "I can't feel them at all." Eva exchanged a look with her partner, then looked over at Officer Miller. "We need to treat this as a potential assault with serious bodily injury. Based on the patient's account and the mechanism of injury, this appears to be intentional." The word assault hung in the air like a thunderclap. Suddenly, this wasn't just a family incident. This was a crime scene. Mark must have heard it too, because he started backing away. "Now wait just a damn minute," he said, his voice getting higher. "It was just fooling around, guys being guys. He's being dramatic, like he always is." "Sir, I'm going to need you to stay right where you are," Officer Miller said without looking up. "And I'm going to need you to stop talking until I'm ready to take your statement." Eva was attaching monitoring equipment to my chest, while her partner prepared a long yellow board. "Liam, we're going to get you immobilized and transported to the hospital. I'm not going to lie to you, this is serious, but you're in good hands now, okay?" She radioed into dispatch. "Unit 47 requesting police backup at current location. Suspected assault with bodily injury. Patient is a 34-year-old male with apparent spinal cord trauma following alleged physical assault." Everything stopped. The party guests, Chloe's complaining, even Sophia's birthday drama. It all just froze. This was official. This was assault. Officer Miller looked up from his notebook. Like I said, nobody leaves. This is now an active investigation. The ambulance ride was a blur of sirens and Eva's steady voice. They had me strapped to a backboard, my head immobilized. Every pothole sent a jolt through my upper back, a constant reminder that something was fundamentally wrong.
East Haven General looked exactly like every hospital I'd ever seen in movies. I was wheeled through the automatic doors on a gurney, staring up at fluorescent lights. The ER was surprisingly quiet, cool, efficient. They wheeled me into a room that smelled like disinfectant and fear. Dr. Nathan Pierce introduced himself while nurses hooked me up to machines. He was younger than I'd expected, with graying hair and a calm bedside manner. "Liam, I'm Dr. Pierce," he said, pulling up a chair. "I understand you've had quite an ordeal today. The paramedics filled me in, but I'd like to hear it from you. Can you tell me about the fall?" So I told him again, the whole story. "We're going to need to get some images," he said when I finished, "starting with an MRI of your spine. I know that sounds scary, but we need to see exactly what we're dealing with." The MRI machine was a huge white tunnel that hummed with energy. For 45 minutes, I listened to banging and whirring. I tried not to think about the worst-case scenarios. When they pulled me out, Dr. Pierce was waiting with another doctor, a woman with silver hair and a serious expression. "Liam, this is Dr. Isabel Chen," Dr. Pierce said. "She's our spine specialist, and she's been reviewing your images." Dr. Chen pulled up a chair and opened a tablet showing cross-sections of my back. "Liam," she said, her voice gentle but direct, "you have a fresh fracture in your lumbar spine, specifically at the L2 vertebra. That's what's causing your current symptoms." I'd broken my back. The words hit me like another fall. "However, that's not all we found," she continued, swiping to different images. "We discovered 3 older fractures in your spine as well, L4, T9, and T11. These are old injuries, Liam. Some of them appear to be months old, possibly even years." The room started spinning. "Yes," Dr. Pierce said, leaning forward. "All of these fractures show signs of repeated blunt force trauma. They're in different stages of healing, which suggests they occurred at different times over an extended period." Repeated blunt force trauma. The clinical language made it sound sterile, but I knew what it meant. All those times Mark had played with me, all those accidents. My spine had been keeping score. "The trampoline," I said suddenly. "Last summer, Mark said we should wrestle on the trampoline. I fell off, hit the frame. Chloe said I was fine." "The stairs," I continued. 3 months ago, I fell down the stairs at their house. Mark said I tripped, but he was right behind me. I couldn't sit up straight for a week." Dr. Chen and Dr. Pierce exchanged a look. "Liam," Dr. Chen said quietly, "your spine is telling us a story, and it's not a story about accidents." The knock on my hospital room door came around 8 that evening. A woman's voice, professional but kind, spoke from the doorway. "Liam, I'm Detective Maria Flores with the Metro Police Department. Mind if I come in?" Detective Flores was maybe 40, with short, natural hair and intelligent eyes that took in everything. She carried herself with quiet confidence. "Officer Miller asked me to follow up on what happened at the party today," she said, pulling up a chair. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck," I said. "Except the truck's name was Mark, and apparently it's been hitting me for years." She smiled a thin, understanding smile. "I've been doing this job for 15 years, Liam. I've seen a lot of things. What I'm seeing here tonight is a pattern, and patterns tell stories." She pulled out a tablet. "Before we get into the details, I want to show you something. One of the guests recorded what happened. Are you up for watching it?" I nodded. The video was shaky, but it captured everything. Me backing up, saying no. Mark grabbing me. The spin. The violent, deliberate throw. The crack when I hit. The laughter. Chloe telling me to stop being a baby. Detective Flores paused the video. "What do you see when you watch this, Liam?" "I see assault," I said, my voice steady. "I see my brother-in-law attacking me while my wife stood by and let it happen." "That's exactly what I see too." She made notes on her tablet. Officer Miller told me you mentioned this wasn't the first time. The doctors showed me your MRI results. 3 old fractures. So I told her everything. The trampoline, the stairs, the pool party where he'd held me underwater. Every time an excuse. Every time I was the problem. "What about your wife?" Detective Flores asked. "What was her reaction?" "She always took his side," I said. "If I complained, she'd tell me I was embarrassing her. She made me feel like I was the problem for not wanting to be thrown around." Detective Flores nodded. "That's called enabling, Liam. And in some jurisdictions, it can be considered a form of abuse itself. Your wife had a duty to protect you, and instead, she participated in a pattern of harm that went on for years. A pattern of harm. That's exactly what it was." "The good news," she continued, "is that we have everything we need to make this case. The video evidence is clear. The medical evidence shows a documented pattern. We have witness statements, including the paramedic who treated you." She looked at me directly. "Based on the evidence, we're filing charges against Mark for assault with bodily harm. Given the severity, we're also looking at aggravated assault and potentially domestic violence by proxy." "What about Chloe?" I asked. "That's more complicated, but we're building a case for spousal neglect and obstruction of justice. She actively prevented you from seeking help and created an environment where the abuse could continue." I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Validation. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now, we make sure this never happens to you again," Detective Flores said, standing up. "And we make sure Mark faces consequences for what he's done, not just today, but for years." She handed me her card. "Your spine has been keeping records, Liam. Now it's time for the legal system to do the same." The news of Mark's arrest hit the family like a bomb. Chloe stormed into my room around midnight, her face red with fury. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she hissed. "They arrested my brother. They put him in handcuffs in front of the neighbors." "Chloe," I started, but she cut me off. Just don't. This is exactly the kind of drama I should have expected from you. You couldn't just let it go, could you? Couldn't just accept that it was an accident?" "The doctors found 3 other fractures in my spine," I said. "Old ones, Chloe, from all those other times your brother played with me. This isn't about one incident. This is about years of abuse that you helped cover up." Her laugh was sharp and bitter. "Abuse? Oh, that's rich. You're calling normal family roughhousing abuse now. No wonder you can't handle a real job. You're too busy playing the victim." There it was, the same pattern. But something was different now. "He threw me into concrete steps, Chloe, on purpose. And you stood there and watched. You told me to walk it off when I couldn't feel my legs. What kind of wife does that? The kind of wife who's married to a man who makes everything about himself. Do you know what this is going to do to my family? To my career? I work in public relations. How do you think it's going to look? Her career, her family, her reputation." Not once had she asked how I was. That's when Officer Miller appeared. "Mrs. Harrington, I need to speak with you." Chloe turned on her fake smile. "Officer, I think there's been some confusion. My husband tends to exaggerate." "Ma'am, you're under investigation for spousal neglect and obstruction of justice," Riley said, cutting through her charm. "Detective Flores has been reviewing the case. Your behavior, both today and over the past several years, suggests a pattern of enabling abuse and preventing your husband from seeking medical care." The color drained from Chloe's face. That's ridiculous. I would never—" "You told a man with a spinal injury to walk it off," Miller continued. "You dismissed his pain. You discouraged him from reporting previous injuries. That's not spousal support, ma'am. That's criminal negligence." Chloe looked at me, her expression one of pure betrayal. "Liam, tell him this is all a misunderstanding." But I couldn't. because it wasn't. The explosion from her family came via text message. My phone buzzed with furious messages from aunts, uncles, cousins, all painting me as a manipulative liar tearing their family apart. Amidst this, I heard a soft knock at my door. "Liam?" It was a familiar, tentative voice. "It's Emma, my sister." I hadn't seen Emma in almost 2 years, not since Chloe had convinced me she was jealous and trying to cause problems. Emma stepped in cautiously. When she saw me, her face crumpled. "Oh, Liam," she whispered, rushing to my bedside and taking my hand. "I heard what happened. I came as soon as I could." "Emma," I said, my voice cracking, "I'm so sorry for everything, for staying away, for not calling." "Stop," she said firmly. "You don't apologize to me. I should have tried harder. I always knew something was off about Chloe, about that whole family, but I didn't know how bad it was." She leaned forward, her eyes intense. "I want you to know something, Liam. I never stopped loving you. I never stopped worrying about you. And I never believed for 1 second that you deserved the way they treated you." For the first time since I'd married Chloe, someone from my family was telling me I mattered. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I cried. The surgery came 3 days later. Dr. Chen explained they would use rods and screws to stabilize my spine. She couldn't promise I would walk again, only that it was my best shot. I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by the truck all over again. The pain was immense, but the fear was worse. Every day, I'd stare at my legs and will them to move. That's when Dr. Anna Rossi, my physical therapist, entered my life. She was short but formidable, with a direct stare. "Liam," she said on our first day, "I'm going to tell you something that might piss you off. This is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. There will be days you want to quit, but I'm not going to let you." She was right. It was hell. The first week, we just worked on sitting up. I threw up from the effort. "Your body remembers pain," Dr. Rossi would say. "Now we need to teach it to remember strength." Meanwhile, my trauma counselor, Dr. Sarah Lee, worked on my head. "You weren't weak," she told me. "You were systematically manipulated to believe you deserved the treatment you received. That's psychological abuse, and it's just as real as the physical injuries." She helped me put words to the gaslighting, the escalating games, the family closing ranks. The breakthrough came 6 weeks after surgery. In physical therapy, strapped into a balancing contraption, Dr. Rossi told me to try to stand. I focused all my energy, and for about 3 seconds, I supported my own weight before collapsing. "Holy shit," I whispered. Dr. Rossi was grinning. "Did you feel that?" "I felt something," I said, and for the first time, I felt hope. The courthouse was a regular building with fluorescent lights and worn carpet. Walking in with my cane felt like walking into the most important moment of my life. Mark's lawyer was slick and condescending. He painted Mark as a fun-loving guy and me as oversensitive. But then the evidence rolled in. The video footage. Dr. Chen with the MRI images, explaining the 3 previous fractures. My testimony, where I finally told the whole, unvarnished truth. Dr. Lee's testimony was devastating. She explained trauma bonding and gaslighting, making it clear that my reluctance to fight back wasn't weakness. It was a predictable response to sustained psychological abuse. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Mark was sentenced to 5 years in state prison. Chloe received 18 months of probation and court-ordered counseling for enabling abuse. Judge Monroe's closing words echoed. "You mocked his pain, dismissed his suffering, and treated him as less than human. But he survived your cruelty, and now justice has been served." 18 months later, I'm standing in my own kitchen, making coffee in my own apartment. The place isn't much, but it's mine. Nobody here tells me I'm being dramatic. The limp is permanent. Some days it's barely noticeable. Other days I need the cane. But I'm walking. Against all odds, I'm walking. I work at the Metro Men's Outreach Center now, helping others who've been told their pain doesn't matter. "You taught me to trust the quiet ones," Samantha told me recently. "You taught me that quiet doesn't mean okay." I still get emails from Chloe. They've evolved from angry blame to something that might one day be an apology. I don't respond. Dr. Lee calls it protective boundaries. I call it sanity. I didn't wreck anything. I just finally told the truth about what was already broken. The MRI scans are framed on my wall. They aren't just medical records. They're proof. Proof that I wasn't making it up, wasn't being dramatic, wasn't weak. Every crack is documentation of survival. People ask me if I'm angry about the years I lost. Some days I am, but mostly I'm grateful. Grateful that Samantha knew what she was seeing. Grateful that Dr. Chen could read the story my spine was telling. Grateful that Detective Flores believed me. I was told to walk it off, to stop being a baby, to quit making everything about me. Now I walk on my own terms, at my own pace, toward a future I'm building for myself. Every step I take is proof that they were wrong about me. My spine may have been broken, but my voice is whole now, and that makes all the difference.